Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Representatives Baum, Campbell, Camper, Cochran, Faison, Garrett, Hawk, Hazelwood, Love, Moon, Shaw, Whitson, Williams, Chairman Hicks.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, I would like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee to order for March the 15th, 2023. Are there any announcements or personal orders? Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very pleased and happy to have with me today my granddaughter from Knoxville, sophomore at Webb, and my daughter, Amy Dunaway, and my wife of 53 years, Debbie. And yes, we did have to go before the judge to get married, and it is Tennessee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I've got some folks I'd like to recognize. If they would please stand and be recognized as I call their name. We have Miss Kelsey Bryant. She's the Member Services Representative from Powell Valley Electric, if she would stand. And she has some guests with her, students from Claiborne County High School, Mr. Joshua Bolton, if he'll stand. Also from Hancock County High School, Miss Mackenzie Roberts. And would you please make them feel welcome? Thank you all for being here. Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have Mrs. Kim McGee and Leadership for Appalachian Electric in the back. Y'all give them a hand and make them feel welcome here.
Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like for everyone to make welcome the mayor of Bluff City, Tennessee, located in Sullivan County, Jeff Broyles. Good to see you, Mayor.
Jeff snuck in here on me. Good to see you, Jeff. All right, anyone else? Any other personal orders or announcements? Seeing none, members, we have a total of 38 bills on our calendar today. We're going to begin with item number one. Item number one on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1215 by Chairman Rudd. You have a motion and a second.
We have an amendment that makes the bill.
Yes, sir. Can you tell me what?
5645.
That is correct. You want to get that on and you can explain it?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion set. We have a motion second on the amendment. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. We're now voting on amendment 5645 on to House Bill 1215. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed no. The ayes have it. Back on the bill as amended. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Chairman of the committee. This is present Speaker Sexton's 1215 bill on MCO reform. This is to ensure that those doing business with TennCare using Tennessee tax dollars do not provide, these insurers do not provide transgender surgery treatment and therapy, treatment and psychotherapy and such are still allowed. And that is the most of the bill. It also states that these three MCOs, or if there are more added, that these MCOs, which are Tennessee-based, cannot provide this outside the state as well.
All right. Thank you very much for this description on House Bill 1215. Members, any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sponsor, this is with respect to just TennCare recipients, or is this any MCO that's doing work in the state of Tennessee, whether they are doing business with the state or not, or just private companies? Who's impacted by this bill?
TennCare, the MCOs are only TennCare providers. Right, currently there are three. There are others that want to be, but they are only limited to three right now.
Okay, thank you.
And this would also, the amendment would also state that it clarifies the legislation does not take effect until the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, approves the amended waiver sent by TennCare to the federal government.
All right, thank you. Further discussion, Leader Camper.
Thank you. Does it talk about the fiscal impact that this would have on the state in terms of losing funding or anything like that? Is that addressed in this bill?
No, the amendment, the simple amendment with TennCare should take care of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Further discussion on House Bill 1215. Seeing none, House Bill 1215 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later date. However, since the bill has been calendared 3 times, we will need to place it on a special calendar to be published with our final calendar pursuant to our House rules. So without objection, House Bill 1215 will go on the special calendar to be published with the final calendar. Without objection, so moved. Thank you. All right, item number 2 on our calendar is going to be by Chairman Hurt. You have a motion and a second on House Bill 1031. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee, and we do have an amendment.
That amendment is traveling. You are in the proper posture to go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, House Bill 1031 refers to disciplinary oversight boards. We all remember last fall the Eliza Fletcher tragedy in Southwest Tennessee. And in response to that, there was a study group put together, and this legislation is a response to what the study group found. Currently, prisons across the state have their own disciplinary boards to determine awarding and reduction of credits for sentence reduction. This legislation, as amended, creates the Inmate Disciplinary Oversight Board for the purpose of reviewing the granting, denial, and removal of inmate sentence credits for good institutional behavior or satisfactory program performance. This board would be a full-time autonomous inmate disciplinary board that review inmate sentence credits for good institutional behavior, as well as to determine whether sentence credits previously awarded should be removed due to a major prison infraction. As amended, the board would be composed of 9 members appointed by the governor, Speaker of the House, and Speaker of the Senate. That would be 3 by the governor, 3 by the Speaker of the Senate, 3 members appointed by the Speaker of the House. The 3 appointing authorities will appoint 1 member from each grand division. The board has the discretion to review the removal or awarding of credits as necessary. Currently, there are limited policies regarding the disciplinary boards of each state prison across our great state. For example, the Turney Center Industrial Complex has 54 disciplinary board members, while West Tennessee State Penitentiary has 6. Creating a statewide oversight disciplinary board promotes public safety while ensuring across the board that each case is treated under the same rules. So in conclusion, this legislation creates a full-time autonomous inmate disciplinary board to oversee the current disciplinary board recommendations for awarding and removing sentence credits. Creating a statewide oversight board promotes public safety while ensuring across the board that each case is treated under the same rules. And let me back up and say some of the findings to that study group showed that the accused in this case had, I think it was at least over 40 violent disciplinary infractions while incarcerated, but still was released early. So members, this is not about preventing good behavior or reducing or stopping good behavior credits. It's about addressing violent behavior in prison and making sure that when that behavior occurs, that it's taken into account and that there are teeth in addressing those violations. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll take questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Hurt. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1031. Any discussion? Representative Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Hurd, thank you very much for bringing this legislation. As we can tell from the fiscal note, this is a substantial problem that we're trying to address and trying to fix. So I want to thank you very much for bringing this to light in this way. I know Leader Lamberth has had discussions about this legislation as well in prior committees. So I appreciate the work that's done here. And again, it is a substantial issue that I'm looking forward to addressing as we go forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Further discussion? Seeing none, as it has been alluded to, House Bill 1031 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1031 behind the budget. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 3. Item number 3 is Speaker Marsh. Is he? I don't think we will roll this without objection. House Bill 160 is rolled to the hill. Brings us to item number 4, House Bill 831 by Leader Lamberth. We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and this deals with expungements and trying to make a more streamlined process for the TBI to ensure that no illegal expungements were to be certified by a judge. And, Mr. Chairman, I do understand this as a fiscal note, and I kind of know where it's going to go, and I appreciate the committee listening to me for just a moment.
All right, thank you very much, Leader. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? As it's already been said, there is a cost associated with House Bill 831, so we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 831 behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members
of
the committee.
Sir. All right, that brings us to item number 5. Item number 5 on our calendar is House Bill 1119. Without objection, we are going to roll that. I don't see Chairman Carr. So without objection, we're going to roll that to the hill. So moved. That brings us to item number 6, also by Chairman Carr, House Bill 879. Without objection, we're going to roll that to the Hill. That brings us to item number 7. Item number 7 is going to be House Bill 7 by Chairman Sapicki. You have a motion to second, sir. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very simply, this has to do with education. The new TISA funding formula, let me back up, Mr. Chairman. The old BEP funding formula that's expiring this year used to have a $200 allotment for our teachers to use for classroom materials. The new TISA funding formula coming up does not have that anymore. So our teachers who only got $200 are now going to get $0. And so what this bill does is it increases it to $300 so they can have an extra $100 for their classrooms, but this is going to have to be outside of TISA because we do not put earmarks in TISA. So we need your help on this one because right now, going into the next school year, our teachers will not get any stipend for their classrooms for classroom materials. And so, Mr. Chairman, that's the explanation. We're just hoping for mercy from the Finance Committee.
All right, Chairman, thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 7? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative, for this bill. I think it's very much needed, so I appreciate the fact that you're bringing it back to help our teachers and their classrooms. Is there any provision in the bill that directs pretty much that the funding goes directly to the teacher in the classroom, or that the administration can't share and, take part of it and put it into some other pot or something like that to be like school-wide?
Chairman?
Thank you. I'll just read it to you, okay? The purpose of these funds is to permit the purchase of items of equipment for the benefit and the enhancement of the instructional program for the teachers. The funds cannot be used for basic building needs such as HVAC, carpets, furniture items, or equipment for the teacher's lounge or the like. So it's real descriptive on it has to go into the classrooms for the teachers.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah. So the concern I'm having is that you are saying $300 in this case will go directly to the teacher and they get to decide and can make purchases. But what's happening in some places, the principal could say, well, we're going to take half of that. We're going to take $150 and we're going to pool it for all of the classroom, and then they direct that funding versus the teacher. So the teacher is only getting half of it within the classroom. And I was trying to see, was there any provisions to try to mitigate that?
Chairman Sapicki.
The answer is yes. It is in the bill, and the reason why we put it in there for exactly your issue was with the BEP, the money would flow down to the LEAs, and then we would hope and pray that it would get to them in its entirety. Now they won't be able to do that with this, but remember, this has to be outside of TISA. So the General Assembly has to fund this outside of TISA, or else it'll mess it all up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, too, Mr. Chairman.
All right, further discussion on House Bill 7. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 7, but I think you can see there is a strong will from this body to want to try to help this bill move along. But until then, because of the costs associated, we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 7 is behind the budget.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. Item number 8 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 903 by Chairman Grills. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. As introduced, this authorizes a municipality to add the cost of remedying a condition of real property that endangers the health and safety and welfare of other citizens to the property tax. Essentially another way to recoup the money that they had to spend on taking care of an individual's property.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 903. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 903, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 903 moves on to full finance.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. All right, that brings us to item number 9. Item number 9 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 321 by Chairman Howe. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a little 36-page bill, and I'll do my best to consolidate it as much and keep it as short as possible. But there's a few things that I feel like
Chairman,
that
right
I
quick, there
need
is
to
an
touch
amendment, I
on.
think, that makes the bill. Let's get that amendment
do.
on, then we will turn the floor back over to you. We have a motion.
5545?
Yes, 5545.
That's what
You
I
have a
have.
motion, a second on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on the amendment 5545 on to House Bill 321. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Back on the bill as amended. Now you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The bill before you is the Administration's Transportation Modernization Act. At its core, it is a road funding bill, but there are other things in there as well. For example, one of the highlights is the expands TDOT's ability to use different methods to build major road projects while giving TDOT also the authority to examine the possibility of and enter into contracts with public-private partnerships designed to address the most congested and unsafe areas in our major cities with something we call choice lanes, which are used in several other states. That's found, if you want to read about it, it's good late night reading, pages 16 through 23. The bill also expands from 5 to 28 the number of alternative bills that TDOT can enter into in one calendar year. Alternative bills, I'll briefly describe that, but if you want to read the descriptions, that's on pages 1 through 3 of the bill. Alternative bills can be a CMGC, construction manager, general contractor, design bill, progressive design bill. These bills are traditionally used on projects with a high level of technical complexity or high risk management. An example of that would be the recently completed I-440 here in Nashville. It was a very complex situation. As many of you know, I believe the contractor had to actually build a special piece of very expensive equipment to load some of the beams onto the bridges in order to prevent closing down traffic on 440, which would have been a nightmare. And because of that alternative bill, I-440 came in on budget and several weeks ahead of schedule, so it was a good thing. However, TDOT will continue to use the traditional bills, as they've done for decades, because not every build requires high complexity or risk management. Now to the good part. The bill creates a $3 billion transportation modernization fund within the state treasury. That's found in Section 15. It's also a separate fund from the TDOT's regular budget. In addition, the bill allocates $300 million to the existing state aid fund for county road departments. And I've got a list here. If you're interested in seeing me after committee, I can tell you exactly what your county road department will receive from these funds, and it's substantial. And it makes it clear that these funds must be used for infrastructure and not diverted, cannot be diverted by local governments for use in other projects within that county. This amounts to, the $300 million amounts to 15 years of state aid funding in one lump sum. It's a substantial amount, and trust me, the road superintendents in Tennessee are ecstatic about this. I've gotten calls about every day about it. Every county in Tennessee will be impacted by this project, by this bill. The bill seeks to reduce the average build time for a major TDOT project from 15 years to 5 years, reducing it by 2/3. The bill addresses serious congestion concerns in our major urban areas through the P3 projects. P3s are used in at least 30 states in the U.S. It also addresses the need for more funding through the Transportation Modernization Fund that I mentioned, which is over and above TDOT's annual budget of $1.2 billion, which is created from the gas tax. And the bill also addresses the need to capture revenue from electric vehicles. That fee is divided among local and state government just like the gas tax is. So this is a generational shift in the way we address our infrastructure in Tennessee, and I would ask for passage and be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 321. Any discussion? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Howe, for the bill. I just had a couple of quick questions. On the $3 billion divided into 4 regions, Will the prioritization of those projects, will they follow the similar format that TDOT's been using as it relates to the expenditure of those funds and the prioritization of projects?
I believe so, but let me emphasize that the $3 billion is what we call seed money. It starts a whole new fund to fund our infrastructure. And that's another reason that I mentioned that all 95 counties will be touched by this bill. But the $750 million per region is the $3 billion, and that will end up in. I'll give an example. In Davidson County, for example, we have major congestion here. It's really, really bad. The $3 billion can be used to leverage public-private partnerships or investment to build this roadway that would be a choice lane. And if investors come in and say, yeah, we will fund that, but we require an 80-20 match. So we would be able to take, if it's a $1 billion project, take $200 million out of the $3 billion, and we get a $1 billion road for $200 million. And so it's a pretty good deal. And that frees up those other funds to spend on widening our interstates, address other issues that we have all across rural parts of Tennessee that desperately is in need of infrastructure upgrades. I'm not sure if I answered your question or not.
Chairman Williams.
I'm not sure you did either, but I did have. I'll move on and I'll get back to you because I guess I have a misunderstanding about where the $3 billion was going, and so I'll get with you after the committee. A question: I noticed that there's an annual inflation adjustment on electric vehicles.
Yes.
That we have in here. The question is I noticed that for hybrid vehicles, it's a $100 flat fee, which is currently what it is, I think.
Yes.
But is it also adjusted for inflation so that the discussion will not be had to have every year?
For the hybrid vehicles?
Yes, sir.
I do not believe that is adjusted. I don't believe that's indexed.
I believe it is.
Okay.
Yep, I
I
do
missed
believe
that
it
part
is.
in the bill. I've read this bill 4 or 5 times, and
yeah,
I missed that
After
part.
after
I
2028 is my understanding.
I do
then
apologize.
there will be. Yeah.
I can give you that breakdown, Chairman, if you would like, on the EVs, on the fees.
I have the breakdown here as starting at 200 and then increasing to 274.
And 274, and the hybrid is indexed.
Right. The only other question I had is on Chairman. I'm sorry.
No, you go right ahead.
In the original language, it put a cap on the number of design build projects that could happen in any year, fiscal year. The question is that in the new language?
Yes.
Or it is? Okay.
Yeah. The cap went from 5, which I believe was passed by Chairman Carr as a pilot program to see if design builds would work for TDOT, and I believe that was passed in 2017, I believe. And that cap has been raised to 28, which was TDOT and the road builders agreed to that number. And we believe that's sufficient.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
A couple of clarifications. One on the hybrid. I think right now hybrids, there is not a fee. There will be a $100 fee, or is there a fee currently?
I believe it's $100.
Currently, okay.
I believe there is.
And then the state aid money that we're talking about, the $300 million, that is, I believe, in addition to the regular apportionment that would normally be in the budget. So it's actually $300 million plus the annual regular apportionment.
You recognize, sir.
The state aid fund is normally, as you would know since you're on finance, is normally budgeted at about $21 million a year, which for small rural counties, they have to save up their allotment over a 5 to 6 year period to do any kind of major road work. So this puts about 15 years worth of state aid funding in one lump sum. So I had one of the rural counties in my district, the road superintendent, talked to me Friday at a public forum that we had on this bill. And he was so excited. He said, "Are you sure this is going to pass?" And I said, "Well, I think it is." He said, "Well, I'm gambling on you." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I've already bet that it's going to pass, and I've already led contracts for 20 miles of roads in my county." I said, "You must be a gambler at heart." I'm not, but I believe it's going to pass.
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Just a clarification, I did check, and there currently is not a hybrid fee. There will be.
Okay.
That will be a new fee. So
I misspoke.
I think everybody needs to just be clear on that.
Further discussion? Question has. Leader Camper. Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we know that what you said, 35 pages. This is a momentous bill. It's a monumental effort, and I appreciate the chairman for withdrawing his question. We get on the floor and have to ask these questions, and then we don't get the full opportunity sometimes. So thank you, Mr.
Let's
Chairman.
stick on the bill,
yes,
please.
Mr. Chairman. Chairman, you know, as I was saying, this is a momentous opportunity for the state. I think that, you know, the governor and TDOT looking at, you know, what's happening with congestion, what's happening in our rural areas, what's happening that we did need to do something. And so we understand that this is what he's trying to do to address all of the issues. And I feel like with West Tennessee in particular, with Blue Oval City coming, that we have to be doing something. So I agree that the state really needs to be addressing these issues. I want to make sure I heard you correct with respect to the design build provisions in the bill where we said we were lifting the cap. Before it was 5, and I know it was concerned back then about safety and all of that. So if you can address the safety concerns people had as to why we feel it's okay to lift this cap. And then I can't remember what you said we lifted to. Did we just get rid of it altogether, or is there a number on it?
Chairman Al.
There is a number. It went from 5 to 28.
28, okay. Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
I'm sorry. And as I mentioned, these traditionally, these projects, if it's an alternative build, are used in areas where there's a higher risk. So it increases safety when you use this kind of a build, just like it did on 440. And many instances we find that it increases the completion time, not increases, but it decreases the completion time, which in effect saves the taxpayer money. We found that in several cases with the pilot program that we ran in 2017.
Later.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree that, you know, we feel like it takes 15 years to get a road built. So I appreciate the fact that we've done that and we're able to get projects finished sooner, faster, quicker. So with the safety measures. So I appreciate that. Secondly, on the $300 million that the chairman was asking about earlier, is 2 sets. One is the $300 million that'll be divided equally amongst all the regions, and those funds would be directed in coordination with the local and the TDOT region on what projects they can use for those funds, correct? So how would those funds be expended?
Chairman Howe.
Just for clarification, you're talking about the $300 million for the state aid funds. Is that?
Yes, the other one is $3 billion. You're right.
One's
Yes.
$3 billion.
Yeah.
The $300 million is 15 years worth of state aid money in one lump sum going to the county road departments. For example, I can give you an example. Shelby County. I believe you know a little bit about Shelby County.
Yes.
Shelby County would be receiving out of the state aid funds. I had it right here just a moment ago. $14,259,000 in state aid funds. That will pave a lot of county roads. I checked recently in the last few days, the average construction cost for a county road is about $75,000 per mile. So with that amount of money, they should be able to pave a lot of roads in Shelby County.
Thank
Leader?
you. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, the $3 billion is the one that'll be equally divided amongst the four regions.
The 4 regions, yes.
And so could some of those funds also go to help just remove stuff that's already on the wait list that they've been trying to get done? We thought was going to happen with Improve Tennessee, the Improve Act. And they'll be able to just address whatever's on their list with these funds?
If I can find the definition or the, in the bill, it spells out explicitly what those funds, what the $3 billion can be used for. Let's see, TMF fund. Let me see. I'm not sure I can find it real quickly, but it does designate in the bill what those funds can be used for.
That's okay. I'll get it.
And
I
be
think you
glad to
gave
get
us
with
the
you
page
after
numbers
if
at the
you would
beginning.
like
I
to.
just didn't write it
I
down.
can give you that information.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Leader. Further discussion? Chairman Whitson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick statement. Chairman Howe, I appreciate your leadership on this project. And for members, this is a funding source for our rural interstates. There's no other potential for that. Right now, TDOT's limited to about $500,000 a year for maintenance and new construction. It's my understanding. And I think the question that was asked before, Leader Camper, can some of these funds be used for the Improve Act projects? And the answer I got was yes. It just, again, we've said from the beginning, we have a 1968 interstate system in Tennessee with a 2023 population. And I see this as a way forward for safety and also sustaining our economy in Tennessee. And thank you, Chairman Howe.
Thank you, Chairman Whitson.
The Chairman is correct. That is one of the things in the definition of what the funds can be used for. It can be used to mitigate some of the Improve Act projects. Inflation has eaten up that 7.5-cent tax that was passed in 2017. So there are several things that it says the funds can be used for, but it will definitely be used to leverage the investment from the private contractors that come in and investors to build our choice lanes.
Thank you, Chairman Howell. Chairman Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Howell, is there still money in there for the naming of the road for the Representative, Senator, Congressman Tim Burchett Highway?
I believe that's a separate addendum to this bill.
That's a separate bill. Okay, I thought that might be in there. We will welcome Congressman Tim Burchett to the room. So, hello, Tim.
Let's do welcome the Congressman. Further discussion on House Bill 321. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 321, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it, and House Bill 321 moves on to full finance. Thank you, Chairman. All right, members, we're going to go back to item number 3. Item number 3 on your calendar is going to be House Bill 160 by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh. You have a motion to second. You are recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill puts more people to work in the restaurant and bar industry. What we're trying to correct now, if a server has a felony in previous life, in the previous 8 years, they lose their server's license. What we're trying to do here is to take that to 4 years instead of 8 years under certain instances. So they have not been convicted of a felony involving use of threat or violence in the last 4 years, and not been convicted of a crime related to the sale or dispensing of alcohol in the last 4 years. So we're putting these folks that have got smaller crimes back to work. With that, I'll answer any questions.
All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 160. Any discussion? Hearing question's been called. The objection calling the question. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 160, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 160 moves to full finance. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that brings us back to item number 10. Item number 10 is House Bill 1481. We've got a request to roll this 1 week, so without objection, House Bill 1481 rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 11. Item number 11 on our calendar is House Bill 722 by Chairman Hulsey. You got a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. This bill moves voluntary manslaughter from a Class C to a Class B felony. And the reason for that is a lot of juries, when somebody's charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, a lot of juries will reduce that to a voluntary manslaughter, but they have no idea what the sentence is because the judge can't tell them. And they get horrified when they find out that a Class C felony yields a 3 to 6 year sentence for killing somebody. And there's other disparities that we should have fixed a long time ago. If I take a gun and point it at you, but I don't shoot you, that is aggravated assault. That's a Class C felony. If provoked and I shoot you, and I'm charged with voluntary manslaughter, that also is a Class C felony. So this bill fixes that kind of disparity and bumps it from voluntary manslaughter Class C to Class B felony.
All right, Chairman, thank you very much for bringing this. House Bill 722, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 722, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 722 moves to full finance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Members, we're going to go out of order. Need to get Chairman Darby on his way if we can. He requested, I didn't see him sitting back there. I apologize. Item number 22. Item number 22 on our calendar is HJR 120 by Representative Darby. Sir, you have a motion second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I hate being in here in front of y'all today. This is an HJR honoring 2 young men that got killed in my part of the world at Reelfoot Lake duck hunting, January the 25th of 2021. And this is to erect a marker in their honor, and the TWRA has been excellent to work with over this whole ordeal.
All right. Thank you very much, Representative Darby. Members, any discussion on HJR 120? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on sending HJR 120 on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. HJR 120 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
All right, members. Thank you for that. Let's go back to item number 12. Item number 12 on our calendar, and waiting patiently is Chairman Keisling on House Bill 1280. You've got a motion to second, sir. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. We do have an amendment.
It is traveling with it. You are in the proper posture to move forward.
Well, great. Thank you, sir. Yeah, that was all right. So what we have here, it expands 1280 expands the offense of aggravated stalking to include a person who commits stalking against a victim who's at least 65 years of age. Here's where this thing started. With thanks to the previous speaker, or not previous speaker, but Chairman Hulsey brought to my attention original language, subdivision II. The victim of offense, if you allow me to read, Mr. Chairman, the victim of offense was 65 years of age or older at any time during the person's course of conduct, and the person is 15 years or more younger than the victim. What the amendment did, we just struck that 15 years out. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description on House Bill 1280. We do have a request here for someone to give testimony. So without objection, do I see Mr. Richard Archie? Is he here?
You do, and he's over here, and he's going to tell you that he's good.
Okay, so we know. All right.
He is available, but that he said he's going to let you move right along if you want to do that.
Okay, and I have spoke with Mr. Archie. He has been in my office, and I appreciate him coming by. Members,
I don't know how else to say it.
That's fine. That's we'll move right along. Members, any discussion? Further discussion? Well, House Bill 1280 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget to consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1280 will go behind the budget.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you. All right, let's move right on to, I don't see Chair Lady Moody. I don't think she's here. So we're going to, without objection, on item number 13, House Bill 115 by Chair Lady Moody. Without objection, we're going to roll that to the hill. That brings us to item number 14. Item number 14 is going to be by Chairman Powers. That's going to be House Bill 1245. We have a motion and second. We have a motion and second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
This is simply a opportunity for inmates that have been chosen for execution to have the option to take the firing squad rather than the other methods that are currently available. We have found out that people that are on death row would actually prefer the firing squad as a part of their execution rather than some of the problems, and some of the problems we've had with lethal injection and with the electric chair. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion.
All right, thank you, Chairman Powers. Members, any discussion on House Bill 1245? Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 1245 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1245 will go behind the budget. All right, that brings us to item number 15. Item number 15 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 678, also by Chairman Powers. Sir, we have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee, this is House Bill 678. It will make Tennessee's virtual education school permanent. These are public schools, and they're virtual schools by choice. Currently, they have to be extended every 3 years, and they've been around since 2013 for 10 years. So this will just make them permanent. And with that, sir, I'll renew my motion. Take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Powers. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 678. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 678, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 678 moves to full finance.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
All right, brings us to item number 16. Waiting patiently has been Chairman Reagan. House Bill 1382, you have a motion and a second. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have an amendment to put on this, please. Drafting code 4963.
4983.
I'm sorry, 83, yes.
All right. Members, do I have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Let's get the amendment on, if that's okay, or do you want to describe the amendment, sir?
It changes the typo. I've described it.
Well, that's description. Anybody have any discussion on that amendment? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on drafting code 004983 on the House Bill 1382. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill drafting code amendment, drafting code 00493 on to House Bill 1382. That is passed, so we are back on the bill as amended. I got out of sync there. Sorry about that. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been before this committee with a description of the bill before. Therefore, I will make this as brief as possible. All it does is add public safety dispatchers to those who can receive some benefits. It helps with recruiting, and it also, as I explained last time I was here, provides some benefits for previously uncompensated risk that these people might share. With that, I'll answer questions.
Thank you, Chairman Reagan. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1382. Any discussion? Seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1382, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1382 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay. All right, members, I see the Chair Lady Moody has walked in, so we're going to back up to item number 13. Item number 13 on your calendar is House Bill 115 by Chair Lady Moody. We have a motion. We have a motion to second. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, and please forgive me for being tardy. But this is a bill from the Secretary of State's office, and it will create the Tennessee Businesses Against Trafficking Program, and it's a companion to the Secretary of State's Safe at Home program. And what this program will do, it's voluntary, and the businesses can join, and corporations, and then they would agree to participate in periodic training, education, and public awareness campaigns to help identify potential victims of human trafficking and let people know where to report their concerns. Participating businesses will receive recognition from the Secretary of State's office. And so, with the unfortunate increase of trafficking, I know people want to know, and they want to know what to do. So this program will fit that niche and have more eyes in our community, and then know what to do when they spot something they think is trafficking.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady Moody, for this description of House Bill 115. Any discussion? Hearing none or seeing any, we are now voting on House Bill 115, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 115 moves to full finance.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Lady. All right, that brings us back to item number 17. Item number 17 is going to be House Bill 114 by Chairman Russell. We have a motion to second. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized, sir, for brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 114 allows the court to sentence a defendant convicted of 2 or more criminal offenses to consecutive sentences if the defendant is sentenced for a criminal offense involving more than one victim and the court finds that a separate consecutive sentence for each offense is in the best interest of judgment.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 114. Any discussion? Hearing none or seeing none. We do have a cost associated with House Bill 114, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 114 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Chairman. All right, that brings us to item number 18. Item number 18 on our calendar is House Bill 1286 by Chairman Zachary. You have a motion to second. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, based on last week, I apprehensively say I do have an amendment with
That
this
is
bill.
correct. It makes the bill.
Outstanding.
4289, is that the drafting code 4289?
Yes, sir. That's it.
All right. Do we have a motion to second on the amendment? We have a motion to second, and we're going to get this on to the bill, and then we'll discuss the bill. So any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we're now voting on drafting code 004289 on to House Bill 1286. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Members, it is no secret, and I'm not just saying this because he is sitting over my right shoulder. We have one of the best treasurers in the country. It takes a partnership with the General Assembly and leadership of a treasurer to be one of 13 states that has a AAA bond rating, to be the most fiscally stable state, to have a fully funded pension plan. Many states can't claim one of those accolades. We have all three. And so, again, that's a credit to our treasurer and his leadership. Over the last couple of years, I have spoken with the treasurer numerous times about my significant concerns with the global push for environmental, social, and governance scores related to financial institutions, related to the business the state does, related to investments and reinvestments. And I am proud to now present this bill in front of you that's a partnership with the treasurer to ensure that the treasurers that follow our current treasurer fulfill their fiduciary responsibility, maximizing benefits, maximizing shareholder returns, and using financial factors only when making those investment decisions. So the legislation in front of you prohibits the utilization of ESG, which is a non-financial factor in making those decisions. And it's very timely that actually we have this bill this week and not last week, based on the recent bank crisis we have with SVP and a few others. It was reported this morning that SVP had an A1 rating from Moody's. They had an extremely high ESG score, and they were just recently downgraded. That same thing goes for FTX, which has cost taxpayers billions of dollars. FTX had the highest possible ESG score. And then most recently, Norfolk Southern, they also had an extremely high ESG score that was actually a higher score than Tesla, and they are now responsible for one of the largest chemical spills we've had based on a derailment in Ohio. So members, just simply, again, this will prohibit the utilization of ESG non-financial factors when the treasurer is using his fiduciary responsibilities to maximize returns for our state investors. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1286. Any discussion? Seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1286, but I certainly look forward to working with you to get this one over the finish line. So without objection, we will have to place House Bill 1286 behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, so moved. Thank you,
Mr.
Chairman. Chairman Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just a bit of a personal order, as we're taking action on this bill and others, some folks who have been watching have indicated they see a behind-the-budget motion as stopping a bill's progress. And I want those folks who are watching to know and understand that it is still part of the conversation. It is still an ongoing piece of legislation signed on to this morning, that particular bill, and it is still very much part of the discussion. It does not stop a bill's progress. As the chairman has has made the behind-the-budget motion on several occasions this morning. Those bills are still alive and well and being discussed. So thank you for that personal privilege, Mr. Chairman and members.
Thank you, Chairman, for bringing that up. That is correct. I don't think I'll say any more. Thank you very much. We'll go on to item number 19, House Bill 327 by Chairman Zachary. We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Mr. Chairman, I do have an amendment, drafting code 5109.
All right, drafting code 5109. Members, do we have a motion and a second on the amendment? We have a motion and a second. Would you like to put this on, or you want to describe the amendment, Chairman?
Oh, it's a clarifying amendment. We can put it on if that'd be okay.
Okay,
Yes,
let's do that. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we are now voting on drafting code 005109 on to House Bill 327. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Members, simply this bill allows the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives to be included in our appropriations, included in the budget if we choose to do so. Currently, they don't receive state funds. This would allow them to do so. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 327. Any discussion? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Zachary, for the bill. I just wanted to slow down for a minute and take a little bit of pause here. I'm thankful for our Office of Faith-Based Initiatives. I think last year when we did this, we understood the need to move forward with this kind of partnership between the state and nonprofits. The difference between what we did last year and this year is that the entity raised their own operational funds as related to the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives. This would create and is funding the appropriation of dollars in order to stand up that faith-based initiative program, and so that the taxpayer is now paying for that instead of the funds being raised through nonprofits in order to do that. I think it's great that we in state government, particularly in Tennessee, have a great partnership with our nonprofits, and we have over the past decade done a fair job of facilitating the improvement of all Tennesseans using nonprofits and funding their resources. In this instance, I'm a little bit nervous, and I really just want to go on the record. I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know, a little bit concerned about mission creep as it relates to using taxpayer dollars funding, using recurring revenues in order to fund something like this, with the idea that where would this end? You know, we could do an initiative as it relates to recidivism or other issues. And so there are some additional monies that are being spent this year as it relates to other nonprofits, $100 million, I think so. And my big fear is that the state steps in and funds projects in the nonprofit area, and the nonprofits see their support from their local dollars wane over time, and they become entities of state government. And so I think it's an important bill. I'm going to support it today, but I do think it's important that we take the time to consider kind of this Pandora's box that we might be opening, and be very cautious about doing this quite a bit. But thank you for the bill.
Thank you, Chairman Williams. Chairman Zachary?
Just quickly, Chairman, thank you. All fair comments, and Chairman Williams, thanks for reaching out to me before so we could discuss this before. Very valid points and very valid concerns, and I think they need to be on the record. But I also would say, too, that this office has played an important role being a conduit between the nonprofits and the state. They're working actively now. The role unexpectedly has grown with DCS, the Department of Corrections. And part of the issue was they were spending so much time raising funds that it limited their ability to be effective as an office. And so this is the only, in Tennessee, we're the only Office of Faith-Based Initiatives that does not receive state funding. President Biden even created an Office of Faith-Based Initiatives in February of 21 that receives federal dollars. And so we're simply following that model, and it was when it was initially established, we did not. And so this would be again, this is the only office within the country that does not receive state funding, allowing them to continue to help fill some of the gaps that government simply can't. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Zachary. Further discussion? Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Just in that same vein, I strongly encourage and hope that one of the things that we'll do through this initiative, there's an incredible amount of work being done across the state by not-for-profits, by governmental entities, and I'm sure at times, through no fault of our own, there is duplication of those efforts. So I would hope that one of the roles of this organization, among others, would be to make sure that we are not duplicating resources and we are more effectively using the resources for whatever the issue is that we're tackling, because I see that in my local community. I think we see that on the statewide level, and I think that is certainly something that this office could help us kind of get a better handle on. So thank you.
Chairman Zachary.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I will say this, I had the unfortunate but fortunate experience of being a site for flood relief in 2010. And one of the great benefits we had was a man named David Myers, who was the faith-based director for Homeland Security, came down and helped us organize and coordinate with other entities to make sure that we provided enough support for families in that period. And then in 2020, had a similar situation with the tornado. And so I can see a great benefit if our faith-based office could connect with the faith-based offices in D.C., even for situations like that when you have disasters, so they can coordinate the different entities. So thank you for this.
Agreed. Thank you.
Further discussion on House Bill 327. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 327, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 327 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 20. Item number 20 on our calendars, House Bill 43 by Representative Barretts. Do we have a motion and a second? Got a motion and a second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your permission, I'd love to go out of order just to recognize a couple of students in the audience.
Okay, please do.
We have with us from TCA's Youth Leadership Group, a couple of students representing Meriwether Lewis in the back of the room.
Would you please stand and let us recognize you? All right. All right,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Recognized.
Committee, this is House Bill 43. I'm joined with Representatives Littleton and Reedy, seeking to add an additional state judge to the 23rd Judicial District, which is my home district I've practiced in for over 20 years. And we are in critical need of an additional judge in this district. It covers 5 counties currently with only 3 judges. Those 3 judges hear 6 different courts, plus 2 of those counties have added probate court back into the Chancery Court in the last 2 years. So 4 of the 5 counties have also seen double-digit population growth. And so we've been on the list for the weighted case study for probably the last decade. And when I say on the list, I mean in the bottom 3, and desperately in need of this. So appreciate the support of the committee.
All right, thank you, Representative Barrett. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 43. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 43 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 43 goes behind the budget. Thank you, sir. All right, that brings us to item number 21. Item number 21 is House Bill 335 by Representative Balso. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill, members of the committee, that opens up Title VI. It pertains just to local governments that have the city manager, city commission form of government. And the bill does just one thing. It takes a 90-day period in the statute that is now mandatory and makes it optional. Under current law, if there's a vacancy on a city commission and the commission decides not to fill it, it has to wait 90 days to notify the local election commission to call a new election. Unfortunately, that can sometimes require a special election where the election could have been handled in accordance with a regularly scheduled general election, which is what happened in Brentwood this past year. What this bill does is simply takes that 90-day period and makes it optional so that the city commission may notify the local election commission within that 90-day period so that it may schedule a special election to occur simultaneously with the general election. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Representative. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 335. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 335, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 335 moves to full finance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 23. Item number 23 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 814 by Representative Davis. You have a motion to second. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is an amendment that is with this bill.
Yeah, it's traveling. You are in the proper posture.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, committee. So essentially what this bill does is it helps to streamline government and allow for multiple food units in our state to have kind of a gold standard in the fire permitting process. Currently, right now, if you have a multiple food trucks, you have to have permits in every locale and municipality. So what that does is that can take time away from those operators to go get serviced and go get that fire inspection. So what we're wanting to do is create a state fire permit that allows all locales to recognize that permitting process.
Thank you very much, Representative. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 814. Any discussion? Hearing Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill. I think it's going to help small businesses tremendously by doing this. I know we heard testimony earlier from a business owner who had 5 or 6 trucks in 5 or 6 different locations. It's very cumbersome for her. It was different in each area. So I think if she could apply for this gold standard that you're saying, then it would be much easier for that small business, less burden on any of these businesses that's operating like this. So I appreciate the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader.
Further discussion on House Bill 814. Representative Hall, Chairman Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the sponsor, great idea, as was echoed by the leader from Memphis. As I look at the fiscal note, you've got a little bit of a give and take. You're increasing state revenue at a point. You're increasing state expenditures at a point there. Maybe try to find a happy medium there where we can be bringing in enough funds that are covering the funds that might go out. There might be some work to the industry where you can match dollars coming in with dollars going out to help on the fiscal note there. So that just advice going forward as we work on this. There may be a way to bring in what's going out to equalize this in the future with another amendment. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative Davis, any comment?
I appreciate your consideration.
All right, further discussion on House Bill 814. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 814, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 814 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 24. Item number 24 on our calendar is House Bill 586 by Representative Gant. I don't see him. Without objection, we'll roll that to the Hill. So moved. That brings us to item number 25, House Bill 1085 by Representative Gillespie. We have a motion and a second. You are recognized, sir, for a brief description on House Bill 1085.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill I'd like to request, if it's okay with the committee, to roll it 1 week.
All right. Committee, you've heard the request to roll House Bill 1085 1 week without objection. So moved. All right. That brings us to item number 26 on our calendar. It's going to be House Bill 373, also by Representative Gillespie. We have a motion and a second. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This bill really just closes a loophole from last year when we passed the Truth in Sentencing bill. What it does is it essentially, if you shoot someone and miss, or if you shoot someone and they just happen to have a good doctor, right now, about 30% of those people committing those crimes don't serve any time. They get probation simply because they are a bad aim or they have a nice hospital nearby. So what this does is it mandates that if you are convicted of aggravated assault with a firearm, you will be sent to prison. It is a huge, huge, huge problem in my area. People are scared to death every day to go out of their house, and this is one of the biggest and easiest ways to address that issue. And with that, I appreciate your consideration.
All right. Thank you, Representative Gillespie. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 373. Any discussion? Seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 373, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 373 goes behind the budget. All right, that brings us to item number 27 on our calendar. It's going to be House Bill 909, also by Representative Gillespie. We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I brought another bill like this similar 2 years ago with deputy jailers if they're killed in the line of duty. And what this does right now, if you're a reserve police officer or reserve deputy doing just as of a dangerous job as a normal full-time police officer deputy, and you're killed in the line of duty right now, no benefits are paid to your family. It's really a horrible thing to think about. This is mostly funded by local insurance policies, similar to programs like COBRA. The extent to the cost of the state is really not there. This is something that really does not happen very often. It's just an injustice. And with that, I really just appreciate you sending this one on, really. Thank you.
All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 909. Any discussion? Seeing none, of course, there is a cost associated, there is a fiscal summary, and there is a cost associated with it. So we will have to place it behind the budget at this time, and we will consider it at a later day. So without objection, House Bill 909 goes behind the budget. All right, that brings us to item number 28. Item number 28 on our calendar is House Bill 92 by Representative Gillespie. We have a motion and second. You have a motion and second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee again. This is just extending our currently existing move-over law. You know, when you're driving down the street and you see a stopped emergency vehicle, you need to change lanes if it's possible and safe to do so. This bill increases those fines for each 3-tier of that program, and then also it extends that to stop motorists that have their hazard lights on and utility workers. In the past year, we've had an MLGW worker killed in line of duty, 2 firefighters killed in line of duty, and a TDOT employee all killed in line of duty for people just simply failing to merge over to help them. It does bring increased revenue to the state and to the locals. All of your local governments will benefit from this. So that I also ask for your consideration now.
All right, thank you, Representative Gillespie. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 92. Any discussion? Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Refresh my memory. A lot of times the left lane is bumper to bumper. What is the proper procedure if you're blocked and you can't go to the left lane? If you could help me out with that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you. So the law currently written states if safe to move over, do so. In that situation, I would suggest if you can to just simply slow down your speed. If you see a vehicle on the side of the road and you can't move over and you're going 80 miles an hour, just slow down a little bit.
Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't know if there was in statute a number at which you should proceed at or below, and maybe we should give some consideration to that. Obviously, 80 is too fast in either lane, but 55 or 60 in the right lane may not be adequate for this situation. So maybe some thought just to, if possible, slow to this rate or less. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Chairman Moon. Representative Gillespie, comment?
No, I would be happy to work on that at a later date.
Okay, further discussion on House Bill 92. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 92, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 92 moves to full finance. Thank you, sir. All right, that brings us to item number 29. Item number 29 on our calendar is House Bill 690 by Representative Martin. We have a motion to second. You have a motion to second. You recognize, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. This bill is in regards to the Board of Examiners in Psychology in regards to mental health and help and access for providers. Currently in Tennessee, 1,900 hours is needed. This would give the board the authority to accept slightly lesser than that, 1,700, 1,800 hours if necessary, if they agree with the protocol that's in place. The second part of it is allowing senior providers, which are those moving into Tennessee from other states that have been practicing at least 10 years out of the last 15, to waive their documentation aspect. So that would be if they're similar degree set that we accept here in Tennessee, they would be allowed to waive that, showing proof of it if they're coming from a state in good standing as well. There's a small fiscal improvement on up to $36,000 increase to the Board of Examiners if approved. I stand ready for questions, sir.
All right. Thank you, Representative Martin. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 690. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on sending House Bill 690 on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 690 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Would the real Representative Martin please stand up? All right. Item number 30 is going to be House Bill 658 by Representative Greg Martin. So we have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 658 basically gives a tax exemption for 1 year for baby wipes, formula, and diapers. It's similar to 1184, which is to do away with the tax forever. But in the event that we cannot or do not do that, this would alleviate the taxes for 1 year.
All right. Thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 658? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 658, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later day. So without objection, House Bill 658 will go behind the budget. Thank you, sir. All right, that brings us to item number 31 on our calendar. It's going to be House Bill 103 by Representative Parkinson. You have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, do you mind if just a point of personal privilege? Our County Register of Deeds and this team is here, and if you'll make them feel welcome, is our Register of Deeds, Willie Brooks.
Oh, absolutely. Good to have you.
And he's my former county commissioner also. We're very proud of him. Although he has nothing to do with this bill, it's about lashing, eyelashes. Lashing is $1 billion business. Lash extension market size was valued at $1.36 billion in 2020. It is projected to reach $2.31 billion by 2028. And students who want to focus only on lashes have to either go through a full cosmetology school or for 1,500 hours at a cost of about $15,000 to $40,000 per student, or an esthetician school for a minimum of 750 hours at a cost of about $13,400, plus an additional $3,000 for books and supplies along with other fees. In order to do lashes professionally today, one must be a licensed cosmetologist or a licensed skincare professional and esthetician. So what this bill does, it creates a solution to streamline the ability to become a lash tech in our state. It creates freestanding schools for those that want to focus only on lashes. It also creates the ability for these schools to provide apprenticeship opportunities along with their schools. This bill is a pro-business bill that streamlines the process of becoming an eyelash technician in the state of Tennessee. It puts Tennesseans to work faster. It also supports our drive to 55. It increases the number of licensed professionals in our state, and it creates new businesses, and I think this is important to note. It creates new businesses that will produce new business owners and industry professionals. In 2013, we passed a similar bill with the same model for natural hair, and it has grown the industry by well over 500%. The mechanics of the bills is this: it allows for freestanding schools to be created specifically for those that only want to focus on lashing. Students will go to school for 300 hours to become a licensed lash tech. The apprenticeship program allows a student to go to school for half of those hours and then go work in a salon for the second half of those hours so that they can build their clientele and also pay for their school, making money. The tuition fee is exponentially lower, exponentially. Whereas in cosmetology school, $15,000 to $40,000 cost to go, these schools will probably charge anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000 for a student to go. It's modeled after the Texas law for their lashing licensing techs also. And with that, I'm open for any questions.
All right. Thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 103? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Representative Parkinson. I just had a quick question. Obviously, you are the hair and cosmetology specialist at the Tennessee General Assembly, because every year or every other year you have one of these bills. And so one of the questions I had as it relates to this, if it's good to separate these eyelash technicians or the hair folks, does the current, because I got a call from a constituent, does the current boards allow for barbers to do the same as cosmetologists so they don't have to do as many hours in the same fashion that you want eyelash specialists to be able to save money and get people in the workforce? Can you tell me about that? Because since you seem to be the specialist on it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And you know, with my limited knowledge, I don't want to take the expert of everything on this, but so right now the barbers and the cosmetologists both have to face 1,500 hours for licensing. And what we've done also, we've done a couple of different things. One, those barbers and cosmetologists that want to become instructors for barber and cosmetology, we streamlined that also last year here in the legislature. We made it so that those few classes that they don't do that are the same, and I'll give you an example. Cosmetologists can't use straight razors. Barbers can't do, what do we call nails for the feet? Pedicures. But if they want to be an instructor on the other side, let's say you're a barber and you're a barber instructor and you want to be an instructor in cosmetology too, all you got to do now, because we passed this law, is just go pick up your pedicure class. And the cosmetologist, just go pick up your straight razor class, and you can do it. So we're streamlining it, you know, process by process. Yes, sir.
Chairman Williams.
That's a great answer to the question I didn't ask. Why not make it easier on barbers to get licensed on fewer hours in the same way we do pedicures or in your Bill's case, eyelashes?
Yes, sir. I understand your question a little bit easier, a little bit better now. Here's the difference. In cosmetology, there are multiple practices. I'll give you an example. Cosmetology, you have estheticians, falls under cosmetology. You have natural hair that falls under cosmetology. You have manicure and pedicure that falls under cosmetology. Those were areas that individuals wanted to specialize in, but had to go through a full cosmetology school. So that's what we're breaking out now. Unfortunately, in barbering school, they don't have a different little subsets of barbering. Barbering is just barbering. And that's why we hadn't had anything to break out. If there was something that the barbers were doing, you know, that was a subset of barbering, I've been happy to break it out.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you. I think that's the case. I think there's an issue in the cosmetology board now where there are entities that have businesses that benefit from this elongated training when my barber has no desire whatsoever to color hair or do nails or any of those kinds of things, but they have to go through the same 1,500 hours.
And, Mr. Chair.
Representative Parks.
And to that point, the barbers that don't want to specialize in processed hair, so to speak, they can always go through the natural hair school and still be doing everything with the exception of the razor cuts. And it's 300 hours. So here's what we have to understand. Cosmetology was the mothership of all of this stuff. Barbering actually got pulled out of cosmetology also. And so we're just breaking it down as we can. But those that want to just focus on hair without any chemicals and stuff, you know, natural hair school is only 300 hours.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Question has been called. Any objection to calling the question? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 103, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 103 moves on to full finance. If you'd like to be recorded as no, please be sure to check in with the clerk. All right, that brings us to item number 32. Item number 32 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 104 by Representative Parkinson. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and committee, Eliza Fletcher was a runner and mother of two. She was a 34-year-old Tennessee teacher. She was out on a morning run, as was her regular routine, not knowing that she would never return home to see her family, friends, students, and coworkers again. Eliza Fletcher died of a gunshot wound to the back of her head and blunt force trauma. Her partially decomposed body was found near a vacant house in Memphis on September 5th. And to the committee, before I continue, I'm asked that we please remember the family of Eliza Fletcher and all other victims of sexual assault who are yet to receive justice in our state due to the backlog of the time it takes to test sexual assault rape kits in our state. In 2014, I ran legislation to have rape kits tested in 30 days. The bill was sidelined right here in this committee, as a matter of fact. Many of us were not here on this committee, but it was sidelined in this committee as it was put behind the budget where it died. 7 years later, A convicted felon by the name of Cleotha Abston was accused of rape by a very courageous woman by the name of Alicia Franklin. Almost a year later, the same convicted felon, Cleotha Abston, was accused and charged for the kidnapping and the murder of Eliza Fletcher. It was during the murder investigation of Eliza Fletcher, almost 1 year to the date of the rape kit, that the rape kit DNA test results were returned by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation with a positive DNA match to Cleotha Abston. Now, why is this significant? This is significant because had we passed the legislation in 2014 to ensure that rape kits were tested by TBI and returned within 30 days, the positive hit to the Alicia Franklin rape case would have come back in 30 days. Cleotha Abston, the accused, would have possibly been incarcerated on rape charges, and Eliza Fletcher would have possibly finished her run. We as leaders in our state are partially to blame for the death of Eliza Fletcher and the delay in justice to all rape survivors, because in 2014, we had the ability and the financial wherewithal to ensure that rape kits were turned around within 30 days, but we didn't have the will to make it a priority and the will to make the safety of our citizens a priority. We owe this to the family of Eliza Fletcher, Alicia Franklin, and every single person who has been a victim in the past and those who are unfortunate enough to become a victim in the future. Our passage of this legislation will ensure that a psychological deterrent signal is sent to those would-be rapists in our state that we are not going to drag our feet in bringing them to justice swiftly, to remove them from the streets, and to protect our women and children from these horrific actors. House Bill 104 will make it so that rape kits are tested within 30 days of receiving them, and within 45 days of this bill passing, TBI will submit to the governor, the attorney general, both speakers, the Attorney General's Conference, the plan to eliminate any backlog of rape kits in the possession of the Bureau for more than 30 days. And lastly, if erroneous DNA has been submitted by law enforcement, TBI will send written confirmation that the DNA has been expunged. And with that, I'm open to any questions.
All right, thank you, Representative Parkinson, for this description of House Bill 104. Any discussion? Hearing none or seeing none. House Bill 104 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 104 is placed behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Committee.
All right, that brings us to item number, I saw Chairman Carr. Let's go back to him. Item number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Committee.
Give us just a second, Chairman. Let me get caught back up here.
I understand.
All right. Item number 5 is House Bill 1119 by Chairman Carr. You have a motion. Second, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. All this legislation does is a lot of our people in the winery business have different locations and different wine farms and producers like that, and they just want to be able to get their licenses all due on the same time. And the Alcohol and Beverage Commission is good with this, and I understand if it's got to go behind the budget, but I do have a letter from them that they are going to fund this out of their budget. And with that, I stand for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1119. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1119, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1119 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. Item number 6 is House Bill 879, also by Chairman Carr. Do we have a motion to second? You have a motion to second. You're recognized for brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We build a lot of our low-income housings or affordable housings, and a lot of people use the tax credits, and it's called low-income housing tax credits. Now, when they build their buildings and everything, they have to go out and they have to search for insurance, and usually that insurance for their coverage is very, very expensive. Now, through the Under the Government Tort Liability Act, Chapter 20, government entities can replace private insurance companies in activities related to their operations by forming their own pools of funds. And for 25 years, the Tennessee Housing Authority has been doing this. The Tennessee Housing Authority Risk Management Trust has been doing this. So all we're asking on this is to let these low income tax credits go out and make a pool and have their own insurance and self-insurance, and that will cut their insurance by a third or more. And with that, I stand for any questions.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 879. Any discussion? Hearing none or seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 879, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 879 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Thank you. All right, that brings us back to item 33 on. Item number 33 is going to be House Bill 1089 by Representative Stevens. We have a motion to second. You have a motion to second. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A community in my county had some confusion about the wine and grocery stores referendum process last year and missed the deadline to get on the ballot for their referendum. And the way the law is worded, they would have to wait until 2026 now to do that. Because the county as a whole has adopted liquor by the drink, by adding 10 words to the statute, it would let this little community hold their referendum in 2024.
All right, thank you for this description of House Bill 1089. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on sending House Bill 1089 on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1089 moves to full finance. Thank you. That brings us to item number 34. Item number 34 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 99 by Representative Stevens. We have a motion to second. We have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Each county is required by law to have a records commission, and in 1959, the per diem for that was set at $25 for the people that don't receive a county salary. And so this bill would allow the counties to pay up to $150 for the per diem.
All right. Thank you very much, members. You've heard the description of House Bill 99. Any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a permissive bill. We're not mandating it.
You recognize, sir.
That is correct. They have the ability to pay up to $150.
Thank you.
Further discussion on House Bill 99. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 99, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 99 moves to full finance.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us all right, members, that brings us to item number 35. Item number 35 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1269 by Representative Cochran. We have a motion to second. You have a motion to second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1269 protects a teacher from adverse disciplinary or legal action if the teacher refers to a student by pronouns based on the student's birth sex.
All right, thank you for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 1269? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1269, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, so moved. All right, that brings us to item number 36. I have a request here to roll this 1 week. So without objection, House Bill 323 rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 37. Item number 37 on our calendar is going to be HJR 94 by Chair Lady Hazelwood. You have a motion to second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Marcy's Law, which I think everyone in here has heard a great deal about, but it basically would just enshrine victims' rights in the Constitution, guaranteeing them the same protections that the accused have.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady. Any discussion on HJR?
Question on the bill.
We will be having a constitutional amendment calendar later on, so we're going to place HJR 94 on that constitutional calendar. So without objection, we're placing HJR 94 on that constitutional calendar. Without objection. All right, moving on to item 38. Item 38 on our calendar is House Bill 818 by Chairman Whitson. You have a motion and a second, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 818 does two main things. It cleans up the procedural and technical aspects of the school bus stop sign violation statute to provide clarity for enforcement, and it makes the fine for first-time violators consistent throughout the state and sets the penalty for those that repeat the offense. It also establishes the penalty for those violators who run the stop sign and hit a child, resulting in injury or death. With that, I renew my motion.
All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 818. Any discussion? Question's been called. Any objection to calling the question? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 818, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 818 moves to full finance. All right, members, that brings us back to item number 24. That's House Bill 586. Without objection, we're going to roll that 1 week. Without objection, so moved. Members, that completes our calendar. Any other business coming before the committee? Hearing none and seeing none, without objection, we stand adjourned. Without objection, so moved. You're welcome.